The jungle of Selvara was not silent at night. It spoke in whispers that carried through the tall trees, whispers that did not belong to wind alone. The ground seemed to breathe. The canopy shifted as if something enormous moved high above, and strange eyes glimmered in the darkness. To the untrained ear, it was just wilderness. To Olivia, every sound meant danger. Her bare feet slapped against the roots and mud. Her lungs burned as she forced her body forward. Behind her, hunters of her own people gave chase, their blades gleaming faintly whenever moonlight broke through the branches. They wanted her alive, but not for mercy. She had broken sacred law, and for that, her soul had been marked for the Nightwalkers. Every breath she took was thick with fear. Every shadow seemed to stretch toward her, reaching. The Nightwalkers were close. She could feel them before she could see them. They were never truly seen until it was too late. Then she saw it. Through the curtain of vines and low branches stood something alien, something that did not belong to this jungle. A small dome of fabric. A tent. Its faint orange glow marked the presence of firelight inside. Olivia stumbled toward it with the last of her strength. She clutched the flap and fell inside. A man looked up in shock. His rough beard caught the glow of his lantern, and his brown eyes were wide with confusion. Papers and strange instruments lay scattered on the ground around him. He was human. The lone human researcher who had wandered deep into her people's lands, ignoring warnings, ignoring boundaries. His name was Henry. Before he could speak, Olivia whispered through trembling lips, "Please, let me stay. They are coming. The Nightwalkers will find me." Henry blinked, uncertain whether this silver-skinned stranger was real or a vision brought on by fatigue. Her long white hair clung to her cheeks with sweat, her body shaking as if she had fled for days without rest. He set aside his notes and crouched near her. His voice was calm, steady. "You are safe here. No one will harm you inside my tent." Olivia shook her head quickly. Her wide eyes carried a kind of fear Henry had never seen. "No, you do not understand. When two beings share a shelter, one must remain awake all night. One must guard the other's soul, or the Watchers will see, and they will call the Nightwalkers. That is our oldest law." Henry frowned. "That sounds like a story told to frighten children. You are exhausted. You need sleep. So do I." Her hand shot forward and grabbed his wrist. Her grip was far stronger than he expected, and her cold skin sent a chill through him. "If you close your eyes and I close mine, they will come. They are already close. I can hear them." For a long moment Henry looked at her, seeing the raw terror that refused to leave her expression. Science had no measure for fear like that. He wanted to dismiss her words as superstition, but something about the way she trembled, the way she kept glancing at the shadows beyond the canvas, made him pause. At last he nodded. "All right, then I will stay awake." Relief washed over her face. She sank down near the lamp and curled against herself, but her glowing eyes never closed. She began to whisper something in a language Henry did not know. The chant was low, steady, like a song for spirits instead of ears. It filled the tent with a strange rhythm that eased the heavy air. Henry sat upright against the pole of the tent. His arms were crossed, his body rigid. He told himself that he would remain awake until dawn, as he had promised. But the jungle sang with constant noise, and the heat of the night pressed down on him. The chant of the alien girl was soothing, too soothing. His eyelids grew heavy. His mind wandered. His head dropped forward once, then again. Despite every warning, Henry fell asleep. Olivia did not. Her voice grew sharper, her chant stronger. She pressed her hands to the earth as though weaving a barrier. Hours passed while Henry drifted into dreams, and she sat in her vigil, fighting the weight of exhaustion with sheer will. But just before dawn, when the forest grew still, Olivia felt the shift. A silence deeper than silence. The Nightwalkers were close. She closed her eyes for only a moment to whisper a final prayer. When Henry awoke, the lamp was cold. His head ached, his body heavy with sleep. He rubbed his eyes and sat up. "Olivia," he muttered. But the girl who had fallen asleep by the lamp was not the same. Her hair hung loose, lifeless, as if strands of pale smoke. Her eyes, once glowing with warmth, were now hollow. Her skin looked drained, almost transparent. She stood slowly, her movements stiff, and turned to face him. Her lips curved into a smile that was not hers. Henry's breath caught. He knew without being told. This was not Olivia. The Watchers had taken her form. Henry froze where he sat. His mind struggled to hold on to reason, to explain what his eyes were seeing. It looked like Olivia, but it was wrong in every small way. Her eyes no longer glowed with their faint silver light. They were deep, hollow pits, reflecting no spark of life. Her skin looked like stretched wax, drained of warmth. Even her breathing seemed unnatural, too slow, too deliberate, as if each motion had to be remembered and imitated. "Olivia," Henry whispered, his voice unsteady. The thing smiled wider, and when it spoke, its voice was almost hers, but not quite. "Henry, awake at last." The sound crawled under his skin. Each word seemed to echo in a space too large for the small tent. He felt as though something far greater, something ancient, was using her mouth as a doorway. He backed away until his shoulders pressed against the canvas wall. "What did you do to her?" The hollow eyes blinked slowly. "She is with us now." She gave in to her fear. She closed her eyes. "We are the Watchers, and we guard what the weak cannot keep." Henry's stomach twisted. "Where is she? What have you done with her soul?" The smile remained, stretched and patient. "She belongs to the Nightwalkers until another takes her place." "That is the law," she told you. "You chose sleep instead of vigil. You left her unguarded. We claimed what you abandoned." The words cut deep. Henry remembered her grip on his wrist, her pleading, her trembling fear. He had promised to stay awake, and he had failed her. But he was not going to let her go. Not like this. Slowly, Henry forced himself to breathe. He studied the figure in front of him. It moved stiffly, like a puppet on strings. Its head tilted too far to one side, its limbs bending with the grace of something that had never been human. Yet it wore her shape, her voice, her very face. He spoke carefully. "If she belongs to you now, why are you here? Why appear to me in her form?" The creature leaned closer, the hollow eyes flickering with a faint light that was not life, but something colder. "Because you can still see her. Because you can still hear her. She calls to you from the edge. If you dare, you may reach her. But the cost will be yours to bear." Henry's hands tightened into fists. "Tell me how." The creature tilted its head the other way, studying him. "Stay awake. Another night. Stay awake while the Nightwalkers circle. Do not close your eyes. If you endure, perhaps you will face us again when the veil is thin. Perhaps you will pull her back. But fail, and we will take you as well." With those words, the form began to waver. The skin rippled like water, the hair dissolved into mist, and the body collapsed into nothing. The tent fell silent, as though it had never been there. Henry sat alone in the dim light of dawn, his chest heaving, sweat dripping down his back. His mind screamed for reason, for some logical thread to hold on to. But reason could not explain what had just stood before him. Olivia was gone. And yet, not gone. She was out there, caught in the grip of something beyond understanding. Henry pressed his hands to his face. He could leave now. Pack his things, return to the safety of his ship at the edge of the jungle, forget this nightmare. No one would know. No one would judge him. But he remembered her voice, her chant, the way she had fought to protect him while he slept. She had kept her promise. He had not. He could not leave her. That night, he decided, he would fight to keep his eyes open. He would face the Watchers, the Nightwalkers, whatever these things truly were. If it was the only way to bring Olivia back, then he would endure it. The day passed in a haze. Henry tried to work, tried to distract himself with his notes, but every shadow beyond the tent seemed too deep. Every rustle in the leaves seemed like a whisper meant for him. He drank bitter leaves he had once studied for their stimulant properties, chewing them until his jaw ached, but the fear in his chest kept him more awake than any herb could. When the sun finally sank and the jungle grew restless again, Henry set the lantern in the center of the tent and sat upright against the pole. His heart beat so hard he feared it might give him away to the things outside. Hours passed. The forest sang its endless chorus, but beneath it, Henry began to hear something else. Footsteps. Not the steps of a hunter, not the tread of an animal. These were softer, slower, but they circled the tent like predators with infinite patience. Henry's throat tightened. He forced his eyes to remain open. Every blink felt like the pull of chains, dragging him towards sleep. He bit the inside of his cheek until he tasted blood. Then he heard it. A whisper. Not from the jungle, but from within his mind. "Henry." His blood froze. The voice was Olivia's. "Henry, help me." He clutched the pole for strength. "Where are you?" he whispered hoarsely. The air grew cold, and the lantern flickered. Shadows pressed against the canvas walls from outside, shapes too tall, too thin, with limbs that bent wrong. The Nightwalkers. Henry's eyes burned. His body screamed for rest, but he kept them open, unblinking, while the voices swirled around him. Olivia's cries, the whispers of the Watchers, the laughter of things that had never been human. And still he endured. The canvas walls of the tent trembled as though unseen hands pressed against them. The lantern's flames stretched tall, then shrank to nothing, then grew again in a wild rhythm. Henry's pulse raced in his throat. His eyes burned like fire, yet he refused to close them. The whispers swirled tighter around him. Some were soft, like a lover's breath against his ear. Others were harsh, scraping against bone. They carried words in tongues he did not know, but through it all came her voice. "Olivia," she called from far away, faint as if across a vast ocean. "Henry, do not give in. I am close. Keep the fire, keep the light." Henry swallowed hard. He stared at the flickering lantern, clutching it with both hands. His knuckles were white. Outside, shapes moved closer. Their forms were tall and skeletal, with arms that bent like broken branches. Their heads were featureless shadows, yet he felt their gaze pierce through the thin walls of the tent. They circled in silence until one of them stopped. A long, thin finger pressed against the canvas, leaving a dark stain where no light could pass. Slowly, the fabric began to stretch inward, as though the creature pushed through, trying to enter. Henry shot to his feet. His heart hammered in his chest. "Stay back," he hissed, though he knew words would not matter to things like these. The finger retreated, but the laughter that followed was worse. It was low, drawn out, and echoed not in the air but inside his skull. Henry bit his tongue until blood filled his mouth. Pain was the only anchor he had left. He forced his eyes wider, unblinking. Every second was a war. The voices changed. Now they spoke as one, layered and heavy, shaking the very ground. "You failed her. You closed your eyes. She is ours." Henry's chest burned with anger. "No. She kept her promise. I will keep mine. Give her back." The voices hissed like steam escaping from deep within the earth. Then the walls of the tent shuddered, and a seam of darkness split across the fabric, opening into a space that was not jungle, not night, not any world Henry knew. Through the tear, he saw her. Olivia stood in a place of endless gray, her body faint and half-transparent, her silver eyes wide with fear. She pressed her palms against an invisible wall, screaming soundlessly. Shadows coiled around her ankles, trying to drag her deeper into the void. Henry staggered forward, one hand reaching instinctively. "Olivia." Her mouth moved, and though no sound reached his ears, the shape of her words was clear. "Do not fall asleep. Do not look away." The shadowed hands yanked her back. She vanished into the gray, and the tear in the tent sealed shut. The lantern guttered, almost dying. Henry fell to his knees, shaking. His throat ached with a scream he had held back. He felt the weight of exhaustion like iron on his shoulders. His body begged him to close his eyes, just for a moment. Just one moment. But he knew now that even a moment was death. He forced himself upright, pacing inside the tent like a caged animal. He bit into his wrist until the sting sharpened his mind. He whispered to himself again and again, "Stay awake. Stay awake. Stay awake." The Nightwalkers did not stop. They dragged their long limbs across the canvas, scraping with nails that left no mark, but filled the air with a sound like tearing metal. They whispered promises. "Close your eyes, Henry. We will give her back. Close your eyes, and we will let you dream of her forever." He pressed his hands to his ears, but the whispers grew louder, pressing inside his skull. His eyes blurred. Tears stung. His jaw clenched until he thought his teeth would crack. Then, for the first time since night had fallen, he spoke not in fear but in defiance. "You cannot have her. You cannot have me. I will face you when dawn comes. I will face you until she is free." The jungle went silent. Not a leaf stirred, not a creature cried. The air froze. And then, from the darkness outside, came a single figure. It was not like the tall skeletal shapes of the Nightwalkers. This one was smaller, cloaked, its face hidden. It stopped just beyond the tent, and its voice cut through the air. "You speak with courage, human. But courage without strength is nothing. If you wish to claim her back, you must endure more than a single night." You must step into the place where we walk. Henry's breath caught. Show me how. The cloaked figure raised a hand, and the lantern flared so brightly it blinded him. When his vision cleared, the figure was gone. But something new had appeared at his feet. A mark scorched into the ground. A circle, woven with lines and symbols he did not understand, pulsed faintly with silver light. Olivia's color. Henry touched the edge with his fingers. A shiver ran through him. He felt her presence, faint but real. He understood. This was the path. If he could keep awake through the nights, if he could face the Watchers in their own space, then maybe, just maybe, he could pull her soul back. But the price would be everything. His strength, his sanity, perhaps even his own life. Henry clenched his fists. Then so be it. The whispers rose again, angrier now, like a storm gathering. The tent quaked as claws dragged across it, and shadows pressed harder against the walls. The Nightwalkers howled, furious at his defiance. But Henry sat in the center of the circle, eyes wide, refusing sleep, refusing surrender. And somewhere beyond the veil, Olivia's faint voice answered, steady and clear. Hold on, Henry. I am still here. The circle burned faint silver beneath Henry's hands. It was not fire, but it pulsed with warmth that cut through the icy whispers of the Nightwalkers. He sat inside it, his back straight, his eyes wide and raw from the hours without rest. Every blink was a razor's edge. Sleep dragged at him like chains, but he clung to the circle, clung to the faint echo of Olivia's voice. The jungle outside seethed with shadows. Tall shapes moved between the trees, their limbs bending backward, their heads cocking at angles no creature should hold. The Nightwalkers waited, patient as death itself. They did not need to break him now. Time was their ally. The lantern flickered once, then steadied. Then the air inside the tent split open. The silver circle expanded, lines shifting, symbols rearranging themselves with a hum like distant thunder. Henry felt his stomach drop as the world around him stretched thin, like the fabric of a drum skin. For one moment he was inside his tent, hearing the jungle and smelling the damp earth. The next, he was standing in a place of endless gray mist. He stumbled, clutching his head. The air here was heavy, thicker than breath, and the sky, or what passed for sky, was a swirling mass of pale light with no sun, no stars. The ground felt solid yet soft, like standing on memory itself. He was not alone. Shapes moved in the fog. At first, he thought they were Nightwalkers, but as they drew closer, he saw they were not all the same. They were souls. Alien souls, trapped like Olivia. Their bodies shimmered faintly, half seen, half vanished, their faces lined with despair. One stepped forward, a tall figure with skin like polished stone and eyes that glowed faint amber. He wore no mouth, yet his voice rang clear inside Henry's skull. "You are human," the figure said, tilting its head. "Strange. None of your kind walk here." Henry steadied himself. "I am looking for Olivia. A girl of silver skin, long white hair. The Nightwalkers took her." The amber-eyed figure studied him. "They take many. Few return. If you wish to reclaim her, you must understand this place. We are caught in the Watcher's veil. It feeds on our exhaustion, our weakness. If you close your eyes here, you are theirs forever." Henry's jaw clenched. "Then I will not close my eyes." The figure's glow dimmed, as if in sadness. Many said the same. None endured long. More souls gathered. A scaled creature with long horns, its translucent body shifting like smoke. A small childlike being with wide black eyes, clutching at the mist with trembling fingers. A winged form that beat invisible air though its wings were half faded away. They looked at Henry with curiosity, with pity, and with something he did not recognize. Hope. Henry turned in circles, searching through the mist. His chest tightened when he saw her. Olivia. She stood not far away, her silver glow faint, her body wrapped in shadowed chains that dragged her downward into the gray. Her eyes widened when she saw him, and her voice pierced the veil. "Henry." He lunged toward her, but the chains yanked her back. The mist thickened between them, and tall shapes rose from it. The Watchers. They were not like the Nightwalkers outside. These were larger, more terrible, their forms like cloaked giants of smoke and bone. Their hollow faces shifted between masks, some human, some alien, all empty. They spoke as one, their voices shaking the ground. "You dare step into our domain, human. You, who could not even guard your own eyes." Henry stood firm, though his legs trembled. I am here to take her back. The Watcher's laughter rumbled like distant thunder. She is bound by law. You failed her. Her soul is ours until the end of time. You cannot fight what was freely given. Olivia cried out, struggling against the chains. It was not freely given. He fell, but he returned. He chose to face you. The Watchers leaned closer, their forms towering. Then let him prove it. The chains binding Olivia snapped tight, dragging her deeper into the mist. She screamed as her glow dimmed, fading from sight. Henry roared and sprinted forward, but the amber-eyed alien's soul blocked his path, holding him back with surprising strength. Do not rush. They want you to spend yourself too quickly. To free her, you must endure their trial. Henry's teeth ground together. Then show me what I have to do. The amber-eyed soul stepped aside, pointing to the shifting ground. From the mist rose a circle of stone, etched with symbols like those burned into Henry's tent. At its center burned a faint silver flame, the last piece of Olivia's light. The Watchers' voices boomed. Remain awake through the longest night. Guard the flame. Guard yourself against every trick, every shadow, every hunger we send. Fail, and your soul will join hers in chains. Endure, and perhaps she will be free. The other trapped souls backed away, their faces heavy with sorrow. Many had tried. None had succeeded. Henry stepped into the circle. His body ached. His eyes felt like sand, but he stood tall. He fixed his gaze on the silver flame and clenched his fists. I will endure. The Watchers spread their cloaks, and the gray sky turned black. The trial had begun. The black sky above the veil churned like boiling water. The silver flame at Henry's feet flickered weakly, and the stone circle beneath him hummed with power. He could feel Olivia's presence in that flame, faint but real. If it died, she would vanish forever. The Watchers towered at the edges of the mist, their hollow faces shifting. One moment they wore Olivia's face, the next his own, then 1,000 alien visages he had never seen before. Their voices rolled together like a storm. Stay awake, human. Stay awake while we break you. The ground trembled, and the first illusion came. Henry blinked, and suddenly he was no longer in the gray veil. He was back in his tent. The lantern glowed warm. Olivia sat beside him, whole and smiling, her silver eyes soft. She reached out and touched his hand. You do not need to fight, she said gently. I am safe. You did enough. Rest now. Rest. Her voice was tender, so real that his heart ached. He wanted nothing more than to close his eyes and believe her. But then he looked closer. Her smile was too wide, her eyes too still. Her hand was cold, like stone. Henry yanked his hand back. You are not her. The illusion shattered, the tent dissolving into mist. The Watchers' laughter echoed. You resist, but your mind is weak. We have more to show you. The ground split beneath him, and Henry fell. He landed in a forest of twisted trees, their branches writhing like snakes. Between the roots crawled creatures with too many legs, their eyes glowing red. They whispered his name, over and over, until the sound dug into his skull. He forced his eyes wide, breathing fast. His body begged him to look away, to close his eyes for just a heartbeat. But he would not. A shape emerged from the trees. His father. Henry's chest locked. The man was just as he remembered, broad-shouldered, weathered face, voice stern. His father had died years ago, far from Selvara, far from this alien nightmare. Son, the vision said, stepping closer. You were always too stubborn, too foolish. You think you can fight gods? You think you can save her? Look at yourself. You are breaking. You cannot last the night. Henry shook his head hard, tears stinging his eyes. You are not real. My father would not speak like that. The figure's face twisted, stretching into a grin too wide. Its eyes turned black. Then stay awake and watch yourself fail. The vision dissolved into ash. Henry staggered back into the stone circle. His chest heaved, his throat raw from holding back cries. The silver flame still burned, but weaker now, as if his exhaustion had fed the darkness. The Watchers hissed in delight. The night is long, human, too long for one as fragile as you. The mist around him shifted, and new figures rose, other souls, alien and human alike. They crowded close, their faces hollow, their voices a chorus. Join us. Rest with us. You cannot win. Sleep. Their hands reached for him, dozens of them, brushing his arms, his shoulders, his face. Cold seeped into his skin wherever they touched. His eyelids drooped. The silver flame dimmed to a spark. Henry roared, tearing himself free. He bit into his hand until blood ran down his wrist. The pain blazed through him like fire, snapping him awake. He planted his feet, glaring at the watchers. I will not close my eyes. I will not give you what you want. Not tonight. Not ever. The flame flared brighter at his defiance. The watchers recoiled, their cloaks writhing like storms. Defiance. Hope. Foolish, human hope. Very well. If illusions cannot break you, then we will send our children. The mist parted. Out of it stepped the Nightwalkers. They were taller than any man, their limbs bent backward like prey animals, their skin a pale gray that drank all light. Their heads were faceless, smooth, save for the mouths that stretched open across their chests, jaws full of endless teeth. One stepped forward, lowering itself to the edge of the stone circle. Its chest mouth split wide, and a scream tore from it, a sound so sharp it rattled Henry's bones. The flame wavered. Henry staggered, clutching his ears. His eyes watered, his body swayed. Sleep pressed down harder than ever, as if the scream itself carried the weight of slumber. But he forced his eyes open, staring straight into the faceless void of the creature. I will not sleep. You cannot make me. The Nightwalker lunged, but the silver circle flared, burning its limbs. It shrieked and recoiled. Henry gasped, realizing the truth. The circle was not just a trial. It was a weapon. His will kept it alive, and its light kept them back. He dropped to his knees in the center of the circle, hands pressed flat against the stone. Olivia, hear me. I will not let them take you. The silver flames surged, shooting high, and for a heartbeat he saw her. Olivia, straining against her chains, eyes locked on him. Her voice rang across the veil, clear and strong. Hold on, Henry. You are breaking through. The watchers roared, their voices thunderous. The Nightwalkers howled in fury. Shadows poured in from every side, clawing, screaming, trying to smother the light. But Henry stayed awake. He stayed awake through the storm, and the flame blazed brighter than ever before. The circle blazed like molten silver, its light cutting through the black mist. Henry's body shook, his eyes were bloodshot, his lips cracked. Every muscle screamed for rest, every nerve burned with exhaustion. He had gone far beyond the limits of flesh, yet he clung to one thought. Olivia was still calling to him. The watchers loomed closer, their cloaks dragging across the gray earth like storms made flesh. Their hollow faces twisted into masks of rage, grief, hunger. Their voices thundered together, shaking the veil itself. You cannot endure. You are only human. End this now, and we will let you rest. End this now, and you may dream of her forever. Henry spat blood onto the ground and glared up at them. I do not want to dream. I want her. Alive. Free. The Nightwalkers shrieked, their chest mouths opening wide, waves of sound battering the circle. The flame bent low, almost extinguished. Henry dropped to his knees, slamming his fists onto the stone. Olivia, he shouted, voice raw. Fight them. Hold on to me. Through the storm of shadows, he saw her again. She was bound in chains of black mist, her silver glow flickering like dying embers. But her eyes locked onto his, and for the first time since the trial began, she smiled. I am here, she whispered, her voice threading through the chaos. Pull me back. Henry pressed his palms against the flame. Heat seared his skin, but he did not pull away. He poured everything into it, his anger, his guilt, his stubborn will that refused to break. The silver fire roared higher, chains snapping one by one around Olivia. The watchers howled in fury. Enough. She is ours. You cannot take what we claim. Their cloaks whipped forward, shadows striking at Henry like whips of ice. His body convulsed with pain, his vision blurred. The temptation to close his eyes, to surrender to blackness, tore at him harder than ever. But he remembered her hand gripping his wrist in the tent, her trembling voice begging him to stay awake. He had failed her once. He would not fail her again. Henry forced his eyes wide, even as tears burned down his cheeks. He screamed into the darkness, a sound not of fear but defiance. Then take me too. If she is bound, then bind me with her. I will not leave her. The watchers recoiled. Their hollow faces split, their laughter faltered. For the first time, they wavered. Olivia's chain shattered. She surged forward, her silver light flooding the veil, brighter than the flame itself. She collided with Henry, and the light engulfed them both. The veil cracked. The black sky split open, and the gray world collapsed into shards of shadow. The Watchers roared as the light consumed them, their towering forms scattering like smoke in a storm. The Nightwalkers shrieked and dissolved into nothing. Henry's eyes slammed shut against the brilliance. When he opened them again, he was lying inside his tent. The lantern glowed steady beside him. The jungle outside whispered with its endless voices, but no shadows pressed against the walls. He sat up slowly, his body aching as though he had carried mountains. His eyes burned, his throat was dry, but he was alive. And so was she. Olivia lay beside him, curled against the earth, her silver skin glowing faintly in the lamplight. Her chest rose and fell with steady breath. Her long hair spilled across her shoulders, alive with color again. She stirred, blinking open her eyes. "Henry," she whispered, voice weak but filled with relief. "You did it. You stayed awake." He let out a shaking laugh, tears slipping down his face. "I almost failed, but you pulled me back." She reached out, her fingers trembling, and touched his hand. This time her skin was warm, alive, real. Outside, the jungle rustled, but it no longer felt like a threat. The Watchers had been beaten back, at least for now. Olivia sat up slowly, her eyes shimmering. No human has ever walked into their veil. No human has ever endured. But you did. Henry looked at her, his voice steady. Maybe humans are stubborn enough to break even the laws of gods. For the first time since he had met her, Olivia laughed. A soft, real laugh that carried no fear. They sat together in the quiet tent, the lantern glowing between them. The night passed, and when dawn finally rose over the jungle, its light spilled across the canvas, chasing away the last of the shadows. Henry closed his eyes then, not in surrender, but in peace. Beside him, Olivia stayed awake, her silver eyes watching over him, keeping her own promise. And for the first time, neither of them was alone.